All right, hello everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. This is Ian Hanou with Planet Geo, based in the Denver, Colorado area. That's a lovely view of our fair city. Thanks so much for taking the time today to join us to learn about tree inventory software. And I'm going to start off with just a little bit of background about the company. So if you're not familiar with Planet Geo, I founded the company in 2012. We have a blend of both consulting services as well as software as a service, and our company is completely focused on urban forestry, green infrastructure, ecosystem services, and urban parks. So one of the things we're very proud of here is we not only build and support TreePlotter software products, but we also use them and rely on them for our own consulting work. So we fall into three different areas of our consulting. We have tree inventories, our surveys, including reporting. We also are allowed to do a lot of software testing as well. So that's another benefit that our field team brings, is to be able to test various parts of TreePlotter. We have our geospatial group, so they do remote sensing and GIS analysis, tree canopy cover studies, and then we have our urban forestry consulting group, which focuses on urban forest management plans. So I'll talk about those just briefly here to give more background on the company. As far as our purpose and our impact and why we get up every day, we really like technology in the face of managing and improving green infrastructure and innovating with that technology for various solutions for urban and community forestry, for environmental solutions, nature, climate, and sustainability. Over the last few years, we have expanded our network to a series of channel partners across the globe. Russell is going to be presenting today. Russell Horsey has been a fantastic partner of ours for the last 2 years or so as we've gotten off the ground in the UK and in other markets. And interestingly, last year, a little over a third of our new software sales actually were from international partners. So it's been doing quite well and something we're continuing to invest in. I'm just going to quickly go over the 4 different products that we have in the software suite. Today we're mostly going to focus on TreePlotter Inventory, and I'll just briefly show some information about Canopy, TreePlotter Parks, which is still relatively new, and then TreePlotter Jobs, which is not available yet in the UK. It's not available, I should say, outside of the US for right now. It's brand new, and it's for private tree companies, tree surgeons and such, doing basic tree inventories, electronic estimates and proposals, work orders, and job scheduling. So that's more of a private sector product that, again, is not available yet in the UK. But at the bottom, you see that all of our software products are mobile friendly, mobile ready. They are GIS based. They are software as a service. They're also hosted on the cloud. So all of our data, we have 4 different international servers. And we have 1 in London, England. So all of our clients in the UK, their data is stored locally on the Amazon cloud. Our software is very configurable, in particular TreePlotter Inventory and TreePlotter Parks. And we have terrific support as well as in the UK that we'll talk about later. So just to do a comparison of the products here, I'll go with TreePlotter Inventory first. That's our flagship product since 2013. It is used by governments, consultants, tree care companies, universities, and nonprofits. In addition, we have a handful of golf courses, neighborhood associations, or what we call homeowner associations, things like that. So it's really a diverse user base because it is so highly configurable. And this is the product we use in-house the most for our data collection, our reporting, and we have a roughly 250 clients around the globe. But with the unlimited users that we allow, we have roughly 3,000 user accounts created actually in the system. Russell will talk about some of the modules that are listed at the bottom. So there are numerous ways to scale or customize and configure TreePlotter so that you can add these different modules for various industry-specific needs. TreePlotter Parks, I think we're going to go over more of this in next week's webinar. It is one of our new plans. This is a park asset management software. So it is also available to any market, but it's definitely configured or intended for local governments. We have some clients in the United States already, as well as one near Melbourne, Australia. And so we've been really configuring the TreePlotter inventory software, which comes with TreePlotter Parks. So when you have TreePlotter Parks, you can manage all the green assets, look at things like park equity, level of service, and so forth. But you can also do all the inspections, all your risk work, all your scheduling of work, just like whether it's trees or parks. So it's a great tool, and it's a great addition to our suite of software. We will talk about this a little bit more later and hopefully have time for a live demonstration. If you're not familiar, we also have TreePlotter Canopy, which is a landscape scale visualization tool for planning and growing the urban forest. This allows you to look at areas with low tree cover, high planting potential, to prioritize, to make heat maps of where it's most suitable and will be really providing the ultimate maximum benefits that trees can provide. So this is based off of a GIS and remote sensing analysis that we do. So again, this would be on our consulting services. Once we have that data in place, the land cover classification, and we look at percentages of tree cover, of impervious surface area, of plantable space. We bring that data into this tool, and at the bottom you'll notice one of the nice things is that this can be used in conjunction with TreePlotter Inventory. So in one web mapping application, you can be looking at individual trees in TreePlotter Inventory and then switch and zoom way back out to look at the entire urban forest and a variety of community GIS data sets to plan. So again, with our consulting services, we tend to fall into these three areas. We do a lot of iTree projects as well. I didn't mention that up above, but we incorporate iTree ecosystem services into both TreePlotter Inventory for individual trees and TreePlotter Canopy for more canopy scale ecosystem services. We work with mostly local governments, state governments here in the US, as well as campuses and nonprofits on our services projects. And many of those overlap with our software as a service. So a few weeks ago, I looked and saw we had 25 or so continuing renewing software clients that actually came from our consulting services line of work. And we also have a lot of cities that come back over time to see how tree canopy cover is changing, things of that nature. So those repeat clients is important. And speaking of repeat clients, this is Washington, D.C. It's just a really quick look at a component of the geospatial work that we do. If you're not familiar with natural color imagery, color infrared, LiDAR imagery, and then the land cover classification data. If you look on the right, you can see we've incorporated buildings in red, parking lots in the dark gray, and then we've classified very, very detailed individual tree and forest segmentation to have that baseline, that benchmark of urban tree canopy and available space to expand canopy. And just my last slide before I pass it off to Russell, this is an example of kind of a unique opportunity, a unique data set. This is West Palm Beach, Florida. It's just north of Miami area. And they had some really interesting data on public health that we were able to incorporate into their urban tree canopy assessment project to really blend with a variety of sustainability themes that the city has been working towards. One of those was public health for this example. So what we found was with this data available at the state level on public health that there was lower asthma rates where in areas with higher tree canopy cover. So it's just a quick example. All of our reports are available online. If you're interested in this kind of information, we're happy to share that and talk more about that. But it's kind of an interesting example of how our consulting services side of the company works and how really as a team we work very closely with the software side of the company. So Russell, I will pass it off to you and I'll field any questions that come in.
Great, thanks very much, Ian. Yeah, just to reiterate for those that have just joined, there are places you can ask questions, and we do welcome questions throughout the demo. There's a chat button at the bottom and a Q&A button. If you have any questions, please do put some stuff in there. My name is Russell Horsey. I'm a chartered arboriculturalist. I've been working in the UK for about 20 years, doing a lot of tree management. I joined up with Planet Geo just about 2 years ago because I like the software. I kind of seen it as a bit of a disruptor to the existing software in the UK, and I really like the fact that the States actually uses the software as well as just producing it. In terms of the UK, Ian, can you go back one, please? In terms of the UK, our setup is we've got 2 arboricultural consultants, which is myself and Teresa, and then we are sort of European support is based here in the UK through Cherry. Cherry's got 20 years experience of managing help desks, and one of the benefits of having help desk support both in the UK and also in America is that we can actually answer calls outside of normal office hours. And a number of our existing clients do use that facility to send in questions outside of the 9 to 5, and they can get a response from the USA usually that day. Okay, thanks, Ian. Next slide. In terms of our UK clients, we've been growing at approximately a new client every month and a half. We've now got 4 local government contracts: the City of London, small town council down at East Grinstead, Oxfordshire County Council looking at their highways and asset management, and then last week we took on board Solihull Council, which was very positive. We also work with other social housing providers, so Onward Homes is one of our bigger clients. They're based up in the northeast. They manage 35,000 properties, so they're going in and surveying back gardens, open spaces. We're working at the moment on a project with Network Rail in the southeast of England. And then we have quite a number of different private clients, from small one arboricultural consultancies like Seed Arboriculture up to bigger consultancies such as Water and Natural Infrastructure Consultants and the Environment Partner. In terms of how our model works with TreePlotter, it's not license-based, it's company-based, so you can have as many users as possible. This has been really helpful for our bigger clients. For instance, Onward Homes, when they started with us initially, were only using the software for 3 people, but they've now basically got all their customer service people using the software to answer questions, and there's no additional cost to them for doing that. But we also recognise that for smaller 1 or 2 people practices, we've done a sort of small consultancy package, which includes TreePlotter, our offline module, and our British Standard module, which we'll come on to in a bit. Okay, next please, Ian. The way TreePlotter works is that you can customize it to what you want. So for a lot of our local authority clients, they've got TreePlotter. Our offline collector we found is a really important tool for the UK. We're finding there are a lot of black spots across the UK, including in cities where people just can't get any Wi-Fi. Our offline collector then allows you to continue to map trees while offline. You can basically store about 1.5 kilometres worth of site, plot your trees, and then you basically load those up once you're back into Wi-Fi signal. All of our local authority clients and our housing clients are using our work order management software to manage their to manage their trees and to manage their contractors, whereas the majority of our private sector clients are using our TreePlotter and offline, as well as our development survey package, which is our British Standard module. But you know, we've got clients now coming to us even in the private sector looking to ask to look at our tree appraisal through Cavat. And we're just starting to roll out some custom landing pages for a couple of our clients in the UK. So it's kind of up to you and your business as to what you want and how we'd work with you. Each one of our clients has a very different looking package, I guess it's fair to say. Okay, Ian. When I joined up with Ian about 2 years ago, one of the big issues at the time was there was nothing within TreePlotter to look at construction. It wasn't an area they'd really looked at, and I said, look, we need for the UK market to design a British Standard module. You know, it's a big part for consultancies. And TreePlotter said, yeah, okay, that's fine. And we built, so we took on a client, the Environment Partnership, and we worked very closely with them, as well as a few other arboricultural consultancies to basically design the module that we'll look at. And I think that's one of the key things, is that as a company, we are arborists telling our software people what we need, rather than my experience with some of our competitors, which are software people that don't have the arboricultural experience. And I think that really shows in terms of how TreePlotter develops, and why TreePlotter is continuing to look to innovate. Okay, Ian, thank you. In terms of additional resources, all TreePlotter packages come with online training. We can do bespoke one-to-one training or one-to-a-group training. We have an awful lot of support details on our main website, TreePlotter.com, including a lot of webinars such as this and bespoke training videos on individual topics. So if you came across something in the field that you were struggling with, you could look there and you'd probably find a training video that would run you through it. And I guess for myself, our other big additional resource is Cherry with their experience. And so Cherry is our go-to, basically, or your go-to if you have questions or need some additional help, and her contact details are there on the screen. Thank you, Ian.
All right, let's see here. All right, great. Okay, so let me exit and we'll go to the live demonstration portion. All right, Russell, you can see my screen here?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, so again, this is Ian. I'm going to do a quick introduction to TreePlotter if you're not familiar. So it is, again, a web-based system. We have our UK server. Each client has their own URL. I often recommend just getting in and looking at the hub menu, which is, I've expanded that here. Just shows you there's a lot of different tools and reports, a dashboard component. You'll notice here in this example we have some overdue work or overdue inspections, because the notifications is showing that there's 4 items. This is a subset of data from City of Corporate London. Let's see, just under 1,500 tree sites here. If you have not been to it, this is the demo that we have, and there's a few key differences really. The demo that anyone can access from our website, from TreePlotter.com, does not have the work order management module. So the reason I'm going to use the London demo today is that has the work module, and so you'll see that. But you can still really test the vast majority of functionality. Get outside on a phone, on a tablet. Maybe in your backyard, or especially if you're stuck at home, but give it a try. That's definitely what I would recommend. So just again, as kind of a quick overview, on the left we have the hub menu with all the different tools and reports and such. Here I've just clicked this shortcut menu. We have a few important tools. This one is different base maps. So you'll notice that we have ordnance survey as well. We can also do just a nice light, kind of subtle background here. If you have other aerial photography, so if your council or county has its own aerial imagery, we can display that. A lot of clients take us up on that. So it's a great way to have really, high quality, highest resolution. You'll see that Google imagery here is pretty good. And sometimes it's different seasonality. You might have leaf on imagery and leaf off, which can be really advantageous. This is our filter tool, so the ability to search by both in the map geographically as well as by any attributes is a really powerful feature of TreePlotter Inventory. So you'll notice here we're looking at all various tree fields. I can see who last modified, show me trees that have been modified in the last week or edited in some way. Search by species or size or health, things like that. All of any custom data fields that you add will be available here. So we have risk-related data fields, things like that. And I'll show you this in the, we'll go add a tree to the system and you'll see all these data fields there. But again, anything that's in the system you can search on. You can also do what we call a map filter. So that's simply just drawing a polygon, and then your data, your legend over here will be filtered and will be updated. So it's a really handy tool, something that is really critical to the system. And I'm just going to quickly show you under the Tools menu, we have the ability to upload data. So many of our clients, at least 50%, have existing tree survey data that we upload into the system. We also have what we call the data fields editor, and I won't open that up, but that is your access to all of your data fields and attributes. So if you have a drop-down list and you need to edit that, the admin level user can do that. We also have a way, what we call the inspections manager. So I'll show you the inspections in just a minute, but this allows you to choose which information about trees you want to track over time as you go and do inspections. So again, that's just a really quick introduction. We also have a lot of drawing and labeling tools or symbology. If you want to print a map, for example, of trees as bright pink triangles, you can do that sort of thing here. So let's go ahead and add a tree. I'll just talk about a couple of the tools at the top right. We do have an offline add-on module. I think Russell briefly mentioned that. So you open up offline and choose which area you're going to work. You can add new trees, create what we call work records. I'll show you that in just a minute, which is really just your work task. So and that's a component of the works management system. So you can work offline and do quite a bit. It doesn't come with the full set of tools by any means, but it's really good for data collection, data entry, updating trees, and assigning work to trees offline. So we're going to go ahead and use add here, and this is a template picker. This is one of the many customizable and configurable aspects of the software, but I'm going to go ahead and just simply use tree. And you'll notice it asks me if I want to plot in the map or to use GPS. So a lot of our clients have a third-party GPS receiver, and those work seamlessly with TreePlotter. So in this case, I'm just simply going to use map instead. But what this will do is if you have another GPS device, it will override the low accuracy that you're going to have for GPS on a phone or a tablet, and it will use your high accuracy. But in this case, I can simply use the cursor here and just pick the area where the tree is. Let's just say that I've been back to the site and there was a new tree. I can simply click the map. So when you go to the demo app and give this a try, that's what I would probably do, is zoom into an area, click the add button, and then you'll see the pop-up form here. So we have a new tree ID. We can delete the tree. We can do an inspection. In this case, we can look at going right down the form. I'll just open up the common name here. So let's just say that I wanted a silver linden. You'll notice under scientific that it automatically populates that. So we use the iTree species lists. It has the species code. It has the genus, scientific, and then common, as well as cultivar or variety. So that's fully customizable by the client. And then again, just simply go down the list here. What I'm going to do for the rest of the demonstration is basically enter this tree as if we saw this a year ago or 5 years ago. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to use the inspection function. And so with the inspection here, I'm going to say that, let's just say, no lines in the way, DBH 44. Let's keep going here. I don't know, 12 meters. Just going to put in some basic data. Again, this form is 100% customizable by you. We have that tool that I showed you, the data fields editor, and that allows you to modify these drop downs. So we're going to say that this tree is in really good condition. Maybe it's semi-mature, and we will be updating this information through the inspection. Great health. I'm just making this up. So there's no conflicts. Let's just say no observations at this time. You'll notice I keep coming down. There's a photos option. So you can take a photo of a new tree or multiple photos. You can also do inspection photos, and then you can do photos in your work order as well. So there's a lot of opportunities to track that. You take those directly from your device. as far as the next inspection and last inspection, if you recall, I was talking about the notifications feature in the hub menu earlier. So this is driven, you have to enter the last and next inspection for part of the notifications to work. And you can put in your cycle. So let's just say this is every 3 years. I'm not going to fill everything out for the demonstration. At the bottom here, you have, these are grayed out, these are automatically populated, so there's a lot of information. Let's see, the date planted is not populated, but the other ones though, they show when the last edit was made, which is really handy. So let me pop back up to the top here. There are other tabs, and you can also customize these tabs, not just the data fields, but the individual tabs. So let's see. This is just our default setup here. You'll notice the latitude, longitude is populated at the bottom. We can do various tree protection. These are just basic fields. So Russell's going to show the BS 5837 module, which is much more specific and detailed. For risk assessment, we have either ISA track or we have QTRA. We also, for appraisals, have the CAVIT module. So that's another thing that we've customized within TreePlotter for the UK market. That is in the demo app, I believe. It's not in this particular app. So what we're going to do, this area here shows all the work that's been assigned to trees. So in this case, I'm going to close and I'm going to do an inspection, and then we'll use the work records. And this stands for work order management. And what that means is all the work that's been done, all the work orders, if there was a service request, a call, a customer inquiry, that will get tracked and associated to each tree. And then there's also historical information. This shows you past inspections, things of that nature. So let me go ahead and close. If I wanted, I could add another tree right now. So this would be, you're in data collection mode, you want to add the next tree. You know, I'll show you one thing real quickly. Let's just plot a tree here. I'll delete it when we're done. You'll notice this button at the top left called Load Last. And what this does is it clones the tree. It carries over the attributes from the previous tree. So you'll notice now that silver linden with the 44, maybe this one's just a little bit larger, maybe it's in fair condition. But if that's all the changes you need, the location is the same, you're simply done and you can hit close. So we use this internally for all of our survey projects. It's a very popular tool to carry over the attributes from the previous tree when you have a whole row of trees that are the same species, same location information. So I'll go ahead and close that. All right, I'll turn that off, and what we're going to do now is take our tree here, our fictitious silver linden, and you'll notice now I have an inspection button. I could also pull up the eco benefits of this tree. So this is the iTree calculations showing the monetary benefit. You'll notice right now it's in dollars. We do have a project this year to have other currencies as well as a new API, basically a new service to the iTree tools. So that's really exciting. We've been wanting to do that for a long time. I'm going to go ahead and click Inspect. And so we're going to pretend that we're on that 3-year inspection cycle. And these are the data fields that we've set up in the inspection manager form. So I could say, all right, well, the tree has grown a little bit now. Maybe now it's got a building conflict, let's just say. But boy, unfortunately, it's got some serious issues. So this tree, it did grow a little bit since the last time we saw it, but it is declining. Let's come down. We could say, cavity decay. I don't know, maybe poor location, and it's in serious decline. So it's got a little bit of everything. And now it's got significant dieback. So these changes get tracked in the inspection form. Let's just do that. All right, so we are done basically. Let me minimize all these. I'll close them all. So all those attributes have been updated. And I can come in and just say building and soil space plus urban. I'm just going to make this up. Urban blight. Okay. So at the bottom, you'll notice that we can create a work record and a work order for this tree. So this is probably one we're going to want to remove. I'm going to go ahead and check both boxes. And what shows up here are options you can edit in the hub. These are what we call work categories. And then within those work categories, we have work tasks. So under inspection, this one has just one. We could add Massaria inspection, whatever types of inspections you have, specific pruning specifications. I'm going to go ahead and use removal. So if I come down, we're going to fell to 0.75 meter stump. I could click more here and I could put in all the details of that removal task, like the priority, the who it's assigned to, the due date, things like that. In this case, I'm just going to leave them blank, and I'll show you that we can update those in the work order when we're going to finalize the work order. So I'll recap what I've done. I've added a tree. We closed the tree out. We came back 3 years later, clicked the inspection. We open up the inspection. We can update variety of attributes and then assign work to it. What I'm going to do here is create a new work order rather than adding it. I could add it to an existing work order. So if you're out surveying, doing inspections, and you have certain removals going to one work order, and let's just say certain types of pruning work or further inspections, they could go into a different work order. But it'll be easy just to say, yes, let's save the inspection, and it'll say, do you want to zoom to the new work order? All right, so what just happened? A couple of different things were happening in the background. Let me just explain. One thing we haven't really talked about is how to use the legend. So the legend has service requests, which are your customer inquiries, work orders, and trees. So what that means is you can display the location of your work and also color code by priority, status, category, things like that. So we can see that the default here was the status. We have ones that are created, on hold, or scheduled. So let's go ahead and go into here, and you'll notice there's already 2 in this area that we've created. The blue ones are scheduled. So as soon as I change this to, I'm gonna just for kicks, I'll say started. So now it kind of updates those colors. I can say that this is a removal. It is a high priority. Sample, I'll just say silver linden removal. I'll leave the rest blank, but you'll see that there's photos here. We could attach a CAD drawing. We could attach a PDF, an invoice, a permit, whatever the information is. So really, next step, what I'll do is show you that we've already had the work task assigned to the tree. And so the way that this works, and you'll notice, by the way, the cost is here. So that's kind of nice, is this is the scheduler rates. So it pulled that in. So the individual task could also be scheduled, due date, things of that nature. Let's see here. Let's go. Let's go ahead and say that this is going to be due really soon. It is a high priority after all. So that's going to be due next week. Go ahead and close that. Okay, so really at this point we are ready to print and email the work order. There's a couple other things I'm going to do. This is a way to turn off certain data fields or turn certain ones on. So if I want the address at the left, I can do that. So let's go ahead and turn that on. Due date, fixed cost. Maybe we don't need to show cost information, for example, but this will clean it up a little bit. It really gives you a lot of flexibility on what information you want to display in the work. So let's just say we want to add the diameter at breast height. So I'll go ahead and I'll call that good. Let's hit apply. So now we have the address at the left, and the reason this matters is when I go into the print and email tool, we have a choice for mapping, and you'll notice now if I drag the map, there's our tree with the tree ID. So this is what is going to display in the work order. I'm going to get it right in the center. I've zoomed in on it, and I'll just click off certain options. We probably don't need to email this one for the demonstration today. So I'm just going to go ahead and do print. We'll hit submit. And so this is going to not create the work order, but simply print the work order. So now if I look, I could either print this or I could copy paste the URL. We have the basic information here at the top, and we have the columns exactly the way we wanted them, with the address, the work task, the schedule. We didn't put a priority for the specific tree. So it depends on how you want to use the system. One other nice thing, you'll notice there's a link right here. So when the contractor or your staff receive the work order, they can also click on this, and it'll actually open the map to be 110% sure that they're removing the correct tree that you want. So I think, Russell, that was most of what I wanted to show for that specific part of the process of adding a tree, doing an inspection, doing the work. There's also a closeout tool here where you can close that out and archive it. Lots of other fancy tools. There are, for example, there's one of my favorites is you can draw a polygon around a group of trees and assign work to them in bulk. So you could assign pruning to, say, 20 or 50 or 100 trees all at the same time. So there's some other nice advanced tools. But Russell,
one of the other things before we close that second, Ian, is that we can set your contractors up so that they can have a specific access. So on the screen that Ian was just showing you, where it was saying about the work we've scheduled, you can allow your contractor to have access to basically go in when they've completed the works to say it's ready for inspections. So I think that's a kind of a key thing, again, just to try and speed things up in terms of how things are working.
Yeah, really good point. We didn't talk a whole lot about the different roles or levels. So you'll see here on the left, we have an admin, contractor, the user, which is sort of your staff, your internal folks. We also have what we call public, which is if I log out, that reflects the public access. So you get to choose. This is a perfect example. When I click on that tree, you get to choose what information is visible to the public. It even goes farther. You can choose what data fields you want anybody without logging in to be able to display the trees by. So you may not want them to see condition or risk rating, for example. Those get hidden at the public level, but they do get displayed at other levels. And read-only is really nice. I joke and call that the boss's level, because you want your boss to see the good things that you're doing, but you don't want them to be able to edit your data and mess anything up. So happy to answer any other questions. There are tons of different reports for individual tree reports. There are summary reports, dashboard, work-related reports. So happy to show any of that. But I think, Russell, why don't I stop? I'll let you take over your screen for the BS5837 demo.
Okay, so the BS5837 module is a module designed to work with our British standard, although now that the work's been done, it kind of gives us the customizable fields to potentially be able to use this elsewhere in the world. One of the reasons that we worked with the British standard is because it is a standard, which it allowed us to build the initial app. Obviously in America and other parts of the world, they don't have the same standards we do with the British standards, which does make it a lot more difficult. This is a good example in terms of I haven't logged in at the moment, so even if I go into an app, there's no data available, and that's part of the security. But then once I do log in, you'll start to see across here we've got different survey sites, we've also got different icons. So one of the benefits about being able to tie people down to what they can see is potentially if each of these was an inspection site or each of these was a customer site, what we could do is we could set up your customers to be able to just see their sites. Ian started in a site where he knew where he was, but actually if for instance I didn't know where I was, there are two ways of looking. You can either type in an address and search, and it'll zoom to that place, or the alternative is we can ask the software to zoom and say, where am I? And so basically that's currently where I'm sat, and that's my house. If we wanted to start a new survey, we would just add, we'd highlight where we were working, and we'd add in a survey name, so Russell's house. Okay, we can say what the day was like, we were doing the survey, and then as you can see, Russell's house has turned up here. Again, you have the ability to delete the record if you wanted to. And additionally, maybe if you were doing a number of surveys for the same housing developer, you could do a load last, and you could basically be, Taylor Wimpey 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go to a site where we've got some existing data. So what I've done here is I've collected on an existing site. At the moment, again, there's no data showing. So if I load up the existing data we have, you can see here that someone's already started work. They started to put trees in, they started to put woodlands in, and they started to put some constraints. We do have the ability to upload topographical surveys. And so here we've got a topographical survey as a reference layer. So if we snap to that and click that on, if you give it a minute to load, that will load up with the topographical information. One of the things that our clients have learned is that some of the bigger sites, the topographical information is very complex. So the ability to be able to switch that layer on and off is very helpful for them, especially on greenfield sites, to try and work out. So they use a combination of the topo and a combination of the overhead photography. If we then go and zoom into a site, and we'll pick part of the site that hasn't had any trees. Again, similar to what Ian had showed you, we're currently in the trees layer. And so if I wanted to add a new tree, we go to the add function. We can do map or GPS. One thing that Ian didn't say was that our offline module does work with GPS as well. So actually, if you're on a greenfield site and you have a GPS, you can use that if you've got no Wi-Fi, and you can continue to plot the trees using your GPS. In this case, we'll use a map. What you're going to see here are very different fields. So, and these fields are very specific to what the British Standard requires. So we've got the survey site. The trees are automatically given an ID number moving upwards. Some of the things we saw are the same. So you may notice there's a box up here, and that's the same on TreePlotter. And so basically the 10 most common trees that you have within your system will show up here. It's kind of just, again, a way of potentially cutting time in terms of people out surveying. Again, we auto-populate the Latin name. We can add the tree height in. We can add the number of stems. We can add a stem diameter. Now, what you've noticed here is that we've done the calculations in the background for you. So if you are doing a British Standard survey and you put in the stem diameter, it automatically will show you what the root protection area is. We can also add in the branch sizing. So if you look at this tree here, we've added in different branch spreads to show the actual canopy shape of the tree. In order for that to work, you need to put in a minimum of 4. So that would be the north, south, east and wests. But if you wanted to do additional, if you wanted to make it look additionally a better canopy, you can put in northeasterlies, northwesterlies, southeasterlies and southwesterlies. You can also put in the height of the first significant branch, the significant branch spread, and the height the canopy starts at, generally above the ground. You can pick the life cycle stage, you can pick the condition, you can look at how long the tree has left, and then as fits within British Standard, you could then assign a category to the tree in terms of A, B, C and U, and then you could put in a quality subcategory also if you wanted. As with all the TreePlotter apps, there's the opportunity to put comments in or recommendations. And again here, if you're out on site, this is a photo we've just taken of the tree, so we can just open and add that, and you can see there the image is uploaded. One of the benefits of the fact that when you're out in the field you can upload images is if, say for instance, you come across something that you're not sure about, say for instance a fungal bracket, and you've got maybe someone in the office who's very good at that, you can always upload photos, and because they're live as soon as they're uploaded, it means you can call your colleague and say, look, I've come across this fungus, I'm not sure what it is, can you have a look at the photos, can you give me some help? and I think that's quite a nice quite a nice add-on. Again, if you want to add further attachments, you can add those, and then you can also say whether further inspections are needed or if the access is restricted. So what you can see there is that the tree canopy has now come based on those, and the orange circle is basically the root protection area based on the size of the tree. If you wanted to add a group, or a hedgerow, for instance, you'd change the layer, but it's the same process. So if we wanted to add a hedge, we could add a hedge along the boundary, and we're done drawing. And the hedge has slightly different characteristics in terms of the height ranges, the hedge width. The hedge width is quite a key one. So if I come out of this, having put a 5 meters, so you can see there that the hedge width has automatically put itself in. Now that the hedge width basically works on the sort of center line to the edge of the hedge. When you're putting that in, always work on the size of the hedge that is into the development area as to what your actual width is. If, for instance, we had a group of trees, we can add a group. And we can fill in data on the group, but what we can also do then is we can then go back in and we can add individual information on stems within the group. So you can see here we've got the group stems function. We also have a woodland stems function. So what you can do is we can go into the group, we can add a stem, and you can put additional information in about each of those specific stems. This is quite useful, for instance, if you were plotting the group by the edge of the canopy, but actually it had some big stems within it. It might be that the root protection area is significantly bigger. And so that will then show up if you then put that one in and close it out. So you can see here that I put a tree in. Actually, the root protection area is bigger than the canopy, which is what I've used initially to mark the stems. We've also got additional constraints. So if, for instance, you wanted to mark specific constraints, so if you were, in this case, this is an existing development, and you wanted to mark hard standing constraints, you could start to add in constraints. So for instance, you could start to map out paths. And that would show. But then actually when you go back to the office, if you wanted to switch those off, you can basically just change one of these tick boxes and you can remove those constraints. If we then go to, we've got different mapping available again, as Ian said, so that's the same as within TreePlotter. And then if we go into the hub itself, this is where you could start to look at some of the tools. So if we look at the data tools, we can start to export. So once you come back off site, you can export. So you could export the site to a client as a CSV, DXF, or a shapefile. And that's also within the hub is where you'd also start to upload. So you could open the uploader and you could start to import the reference layers and the topographical surveys. But it's a very powerful tool. We're getting really good feedback from our clients. A number of our clients have come to us because they couldn't find a product that did everything they wanted for the people wanted for the British standard. And so that's why we've worked with a number of consultants to design this. So I've just got a question that's popped up. So let me just quickly check that question. Ian, could you read the question out, please?
Yeah, I was on mute. Let's see here. Q&A. All right, Ian McDermott. Hello, Mac. Hi, Russell. Does 5837 also display shadowing constraints?
No, not at the current time. It doesn't.
Ian, it depends which way you hold the flashlight against your computer screen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that at the moment our clients have asked for, but you know, as I said, this, you know, we've just built this. We're starting to get quite a number of clients using it, and you know, we take on board what client feedback, and if we're getting significant feedback from our clients that we want to look at things, we would look to add that in future upgrades, basically.
Yeah, I think, I mean, even just custom data, you know, joking aside, but custom data fields are very easy, of course, to add as far as drop downs and how you can use that.
So yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, that's the British Standard module. You know, as a brand new module, it's only been working up and running now for about 4 or 5 months. So, but yeah, we are getting very positive feedback. So I'll pass back to you, Ian.
Let's see. All right. Well, let's get some more Q&A going. I got a couple other things I can show on screen that we were planning to, but yeah, it would be, now's a great time to submit either chat questions or use the Q&A. Let's see, Russell, why don't I go ahead and share screen next?
Yeah,
one more question just came in here from Andy. This is for you, Russell. Are group RPAs just plotted at the canopy edge as standard?
No, the RPAs are not necessarily plotted to the edge of the canopy. They are, at the moment, they are basically done on the root protection area. You can go, I mean, you potentially could export that and change those. We have included some information on veteran trees, which would give a larger root protection area. Chris is saying, can we output the data into CAD easily and retain its attributes? Yes, I mean, we can export that. You know, we can export your data and potentially then, you know, CAD technicians could work with it.
Yeah, my understanding is yes.
Yeah.
Basically, import CAD data, do the work that you need in a GIS environment, which is some of the magic that happens behind the scenes, and then repackage, re-export that back out. Looks like we got some
Chris,
questions.
Yeah, Chris, yes. Yeah, you can upload your existing topos. So the uploader tool is open to clients to bring in their existing topos. You don't have to come through us to do that. Initially,
yeah, we just didn't show that part of the process, but yeah, there's a upload reference layers, and you can use GIS formats and CAD formats. Chris had another question here. Can it snap to a position on the topo, for instance, a topo stem position? No. It's good to have lots of questions. Yeah.
Yes, we can do. So yes, there is a snap to function. Let me share screen again.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, it's a great question. That was a really neat feature that's in the legend on the bottom right.
Yeah, so we have a snap to feature, which we can add on. Where's that gone? That's the reference.
It's just to the right of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah, when you're adding, it can snap to a boundary or something like that if you wanted to do that as an addition, basically. So the reason for the snap to is mainly for trees on edges and sites.
You might need to turn off, I could be wrong, you might need to turn off the GPS button. I see that it's still that kind of pinkish or sort of color in where the GPS button is, Russell. I know sometimes when that's turned on, you have to turn that off for certain things to work, and that might be the case with snap too. I'm not sure.
So it must be, okay. Where's that on, Ian? I can't see that.
Oh, in the main, where the home button is, the GPS button on the left. You know, where above the filter tool.
Oh, right, yeah, okay. One second.
Just to your right.
Yeah, gotcha.
There you go. Yep. Let's see. Alvin has a question. Sorry you have to go. Thank you. Oh, okay. Great. Thanks, Alvin. Appreciate it. You're spending the time with us. And I think chat window, Chris has another good question, I'm sure. Does the root constraint system then affect the tree RPA as per the BS module? So manipulate the shape to account for that below good ground constraint.
Okay, so at the moment you'd need to export that and do that within your CAD. We don't have the ability to manipulate the shape at the moment within TreePlotter. It's drawn as a circle.
Is that really the case? I thought.
Yep.
So okay, so in other words, the cardinal directions, those 8 data fields, that does update the shape of the tree.
Updates the shape of the tree, but the root protection area currently, you'd have to, if you wanted to manipulate it, you'd have to export out and do that within CAD.
Okay, so it does it for the canopy area, but not the root constraint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's so many different variables at the moment in terms of below ground constraints. It's on a future update to do.
Interesting. Yeah, that might be a good topic to talk about with the tech tech team. Chris has another question for you. Have you experienced, do you have experience linking Trimble Catalyst survey equipment to get more? Yeah, absolutely, Chris. We actually have sort of like a short white paper that we're about to release right now. I've reviewed it a couple of times. We did some testing with Trimble and I think Juniper Systems were the 2 companies that we tested with. But yeah, we have a lot of clients that use Trimble R1, Trimble Catalyst, and they come with basically an app configuration, and some devices are very, very seamless to simply have it override the GPS position. So we can help you with that. We can help any client with that getting set up, and then that white paper will be sent out really soon. I think next week. I'd be happy to send it to you directly. Let's see. How about Russell? How about I share screen for a few minutes?
Yeah.
We still have most people here, and I'll just show a handful of other things. So this is the same application we were in before. I want to show 2 things. One is a quick report. So these are our work reports. This is showing. You open up the link. So really nice reports. We made a big upgrade about a year ago to our reporting system. You'll notice it tracks just about everything in the system here. So we can create these. You can hide specific sections of reports. They're interactive and live, so you can send a link or you can print to PDF. So that's a nice component of the system. Like I said, there's lots of different reports. Now, if you wanted one just for this group of trees here, earlier I talked about the filter tool. So if I come in and use the filter, you'll notice on the right, the legend updates to just those 6 trees. And then if I go over to my report and click run, so this is the exact same thing I just showed you, except now there's only 6 trees. Only 3 of them had a work record. So I see that there's actually just 3. But that's just a simple example of how some of the reports work and how the filtering works. So if I come here and I look at, let's just say, so if I clear this filter, you'll see the chart on the left here gets updated instantly. So it's really a nice feature. We can do tabular reports. A fairly new feature is the way to customize your dashboard. So if I click this pin, it now turns blue. And if I come up to the dashboard, you have specific charts, and that's only available to the admins. So kind of nice. The notifications tool, this is a stoplight system here. So I didn't get to show the specifics earlier, but you'll notice there's 2 categories, the work and the inspections. And so what this does is it shows me there are, obviously this is a sample data set, so we have 136. We need to get back to work, as you can see. We have a lot of overdue work, but it breaks it out by what's overdue, what's due in the next week, and what's due in the next 30 days for both work and for inspections. So that's a great feature, and it's actually it's a good story because it's a feature we did not have in the software about a year ago. We were working with Onward Homes, the social housing authority, and this was a really important element to them. And so what this does is it actually filters the map. It will filter your reports to just those records that you need to be notified about.
Okay, I've got a question from Britt about the British Standard. When you say root constraints, do you mean if there are underground barriers or construction barriers, i.e. recording pipes? To be honest, that's up to you. So what you can do there is, yes, if you knew where there were pipes, you could add those in. Additionally, I guess if you had a tree next to a road, you could mark in the road. So when the British Standard produces its root protection area, you can potentially discount the road, and you might want to protect open green space instead. So you just mark on site where those existing above ground and below ground constraints are, so that you've got that information for when you're back at the office.
All right, excellent. So a couple other things for those who have just a little bit more time. If you haven't been to our support site, this is a tremendous resource. I'll just scroll down here. You can see we have just ways to get started, different frequently asked questions. You could specifically go to the different add-on modules we have, and then there's all the different videos that we have. So let's just say if we click there, we can go right down the list and see all the different videos, the how-to, or we could come in and let's say we wanted to learn about offline. We just go right to it. We also, as you can see, have some tutorials in Spanish. So it's a great resource, so I'd really recommend taking a look at this. Russell, looks like we have one other question coming in. I'm just going to pull up the CAVIT data fields because we haven't looked at that yet, but go ahead and if you want to field that question, that'd be great.
So Britt was talking again about what you need to do in CAD. It's the manipulation of the root protection areas. So at the moment, we can't manipulate the root protection area within TreePlotter to take account of constraints. So you might want to, rather than having a circular root protection area, you might want a square one because that's where the open space is or where the roots are likely to be. So it's that at the moment we don't have the ability to do. Ian, after this, did you want to quickly show some canopy stuff?
Yes. Yep, I can do that. Couldn't tell if there was a new chat question or if that was, let me log in here as, so you'll notice, yeah.
Okay. I've got another couple of questions coming in. One from Andy. How would the system deal with multiple survey data sets by different surveyors for a large number of trees? Can it combine data and renumber consecutively? My understanding is, I know that the TEP have had multiple surveyors on sites doing data surveying, and it's worked for them. So yes. And then in terms of data sets, you potentially could set those up as individual layers and switch on and off depending on what it was you wanted to look at on site. And then Chris has come, would you have to provide an example of a data set export to shapefile? We could then use this to see how it works for existing systems. Yes, Chris, we can get that across to you, no problem. Yeah, you can export data even in the demo app. I think we limit it to 5 records. But we've just set a limit on it. But yeah, normally when you go in though, for example, if I went into the hub, go under data tools, let me just move the form out of the way here, and go to export. So you'll notice here, this is where you export to shapefile. And you can choose which layer that you want to export. So maybe just real quickly, as Russell said, I'll just show the CAVIT and then I'll show the TreePlotter Canopy software as well. So what was this, about a year ago, I think, Russell? We built out the CAVIT module. So it's pretty straightforward. Let's see. Expectancy. So that's just a real simple example of how the form works, but really straightforward. These are included in your reports. That's one thing we didn't show. I could go to this tree report. So this is a report for an individual tree. It will display photos up here. Then it does street view, and then it does the map view. So pretty handy. And you'll notice it has the ecosystem benefits if you have that part. It also shows you the recent changes to the tree, so edits that have been made. This one, it looks like, obviously we left a lot of this blank, but there's the CAVIT, so there's the data fields that I
that I just added to the system right now. So you see it's just really in real time. If there were inspections on the tree, they would display here. So that's another nice part we hadn't shown yet. And Russell, if there's a chat, I'll go ahead and pull up a TreePlotter Canopy app while you maybe look at the chat.
Okay, I'm just checking. Mac DFX files can be imported into CAD, yes. I think that's it.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, this is the demo app for the UK, and we have a very simple version of our TreePlotter Canopy software. So it's actually, you can access this anytime. This is a very simple version. I'm going to open up a different client with more data, essentially. But
okay. While you're doing that, Mac has asked, presumably with QTRA you need a license. Yes, so you have to be a QTRA licensed person to use that. I mean, we don't just work with QTRA. We do work with other different systems. A couple of our clients have quite basic risk systems, and we just included those within drop-down menus. So it's not just about QTRA or track. There is the opportunity to look at other risk systems as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, a lot of good questions. So here is the UK demo app, and we just have a sample data set from Wickham. And one of the things that this allows you to do is to display areas based on their % tree canopy cover. So you have to have the data that goes into this, but you'll notice here if you hover, so this ward has 30% average canopy cover across it. This one has 19. Now, let's take, this is a client just south of Portland, Oregon, the state capital of Salem. You'll notice here they have multiple boundaries or geographic layers to look at. So we could look at specific parks and their canopy cover, neighborhoods. In this case, we have what we call, these are census data, demographic units. But this has now 2 sliders. I can show, instead of showing existing tree canopy, if you look at the little legend at the top right, we're now displaying by the % plantable space. So this data, we've done a remote sensing, green infrastructure analysis of aerial imagery, LiDAR or satellite imagery. We've taken that data and then we've calculated the % tree cover and the % open space or plantable area. Our studies, we actually go through and it's fairly meticulous. We remove ball fields, airport runways, areas where you're just not going to be planting, so that this is a more accurate representation. And so you can say, I want to see, you just see how easy it is, I want to see areas with lower than 20% tree cover, but I want to see ones that have the most planting potential. So maybe they have, so here's kind of the low-hanging fruit, right? So very, very quickly, we can now say that has low tree cover, 13%, but high planting potential at 40%. So it's a great planning tool. If we go over to, let me say, so you'll notice it's still showing those same areas, and now this is more of our prioritization and weighting tool. So I'm going to say reset. Say reset all. There we go. So now it's showing all areas again, but now with our, you'll see view, plan, and grow. So if we're using plan, we have these priorities, low, medium, high. So if I say that my highest priority is air quality improvements, you'll see that it's now just showing that one metric. But if I say that urban heat islands is a major issue, and I want to focus areas, let's do this. These are important, but I really want to focus on where the people are that are going to be impacted the most. So I'm going to look at the underserved populations. So if I click on the or hover over the question mark, this shows what data we used. We have to go obtain this data either from various public sources or from the local government we're working with. So it brings a lot of this information into one place. We can then filter the map to say, show me the highest priority areas in our community for specific things. So in this case, population-based and then air quality and heat related. So it's just a quick example of how to use TreePlotter Canopy. You do not need to log into these, so anybody who's interested, just let us know. We can provide the URL for tools like this. The last one, I won't do a full demonstration. This is a grow out, so what it allows you to do is add tree canopy to certain areas, or say if we plant 1,000 trees here and 10,000 trees here, what does that do to the city's overall tree canopy cover? So it's like I said, I won't give a full demonstration, but really a neat tool. We plug in the iTree benefits, and then you get a report, what we call a grow report, that allows you to see what are the benefits that the canopy is currently providing versus what scenarios can you create to show the impacts of additional urban forest efforts.
And we've got a couple of questions. So Andy's asked, for ecosystem services, is it based on standard iTree values? In the UK, these are often adjusted to more specific values. So at the moment, yes, the module is based on the US values. Work has been done in the UK with iTree on specific different values, such as air pollution, and other modelling. At the moment, those are not live within the iTree system for the UK, but that is work that we're awaiting iTree to tell us is ready. We're part of a user group in the US with them, and once that data has been released, we would then make the eco module relevant to the UK, because we recognise that that's a flaw. So at the moment, that's why you're seeing specific values in US dollars and not pounds. And we those data subsets are not specifically UK, but a lot of work has been done in the last 18 months with tree economics and forest research to do that background work, and we're now just waiting for iTree to release that so that we can use it. Brit's asked a separate question, which is, can you divide areas into public and private land? The simple answer is yes. Again, it depends on the data sets you have. One of our clients recently has gone out and started to map all of their land into individual parcels of land. So that's kind of a good example of where they've gone out and mapped those parcels of their land so they can see where they are, and then you can potentially pick up private land as an additional layer if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's a good question, Britt. There's ways to, just to add on to Russell's answer, there's ways to bring in GIS data sets into the software, and they can do some nice geospatial functions. For example, every time you plot a tree, if you have land use data, parcel data, things like that, we can, when you plot the tree, it can automatically populate certain attributes for you. So, right now, like, if you plotted a tree in this census block group, which is a US thing, it could automatically populate the name of where it is, other attributes. So that's one way to do it, is through GIS data layers. The other way would be with an attribute. You could simply have a drop down that says public, private, things like that. Then you can filter off of that and so forth. So there's several options really to accomplish that.
And we've got a couple of clients that are based within highways departments, and they're looking at what other layers their highways departments have as existing GIS files, and we'll be uploading some of those for them. So they might want to know where their light columns are as an overlay, so that when they're looking at tree planting, they can make sure any new tree planting spots are not going directly where there are existing light columns. So they're trying to be a bit smarter about looking at things like that.
Did we get to all the Q&A questions as well, Russell?
Yeah, so Mac, yes, version 6 of Eco does have pounds, but what the iTree people haven't done is they haven't allowed systems like ourselves to feed into that yet. We're currently waiting for them to release an API, which would allow us to talk to that, which would then allow us to change our Eco module to come into pounds. So yeah.
Yep. We're actually testing in the US right now the API. We just maybe 3 weeks ago received some documentation on that. So.
Brit's asked, can we quickly show the park tool? If people are happy to stay on for another 2 or 3 minutes, I don't see why not.
Sure. Yeah, we don't have a demo app specifically for. Let me see. What am I looking at here? Yeah, so this is our US demo of parks. One of the nice things is that Again, you have all of your tree information and you have all of your park asset information in one application. So in this case, when you look at the top right, you'll notice in the layer dropdown that the default for TreePlotter parks is set to amenities, park amenities, your benches, and you see the list there at the bottom right, the drinking fountains and a horseshoe pit and benches and so forth. So this is fully customizable like everything else. And if I click here, we can have attributes and inspections for your parks, park amenities, playgrounds. We have a handful of clients who have trails, what else? Planter beds, irrigation. Those are a handful of other ones. And it just depends. We have three levels, three product levels of TreePlotter parks. So there's a base level, a complete, and a premium. And one of the things that comes with is additional custom layers. So let's go ahead. I'll close the home page. Actually, I got to log in as well. So let me click login. This is a sample data set from one of our clients in California that they let us bring the data into the system. So I could switch to the park boundaries themselves. I could go in and have, what type of park is this? Is it public park? Is it a neighborhood park or regional, for example? So this is really just a sample data set. You can have whatever fields you want here. You can also do inspections for parks. So let's see what else. You can assign work. So you might have mowing. You could have other general work that specifically is associated with the park. However, let's go to playgrounds. Sorry, my window's in the way. There we go. So let's take a look at playgrounds here. So we have Slide Hill Park West. Let's take a look at what data is here. Just open the report. All right, we got the name, the address, we have an overall condition. We have what equipment there is, comments box, of course. This is a nice photo of the play equipment. We get the overview map. So let's close that. Let's go into the details here. So this is the editing form, and that's one of the beauties of this system is that once you learn the tools for adding, updating, editing, running reports for tree assets, it's nearly identical for park assets. So really helps minimize training. One of the things we wanted to accomplish as well is that somebody's out inspecting trees or inspecting parks, they may have the qualifications to identify other issues and other works that are needed while they're there.
Britt's asked a quick question saying, is it also for churchyards? Although it's called TreePlotter Parks, I think just work on it as it's for managing land. So that could be a housing association open space, that could be a churchyard, that could be a swimming pool, leisure centre, it could be any different type of land form you can use within it.
Correct, absolutely. This is a slightly different inspection form than you saw earlier with trees. So for playground inspections, you'll notice we have two tabs up here, and then we have these sections or categories. So we have this one has a pass, fail, or NA. We have some other clients that wanted a numeric system, so that's a choice as well. When we set up the inspection forms, you might want a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or something like that. But you go down the form and do a pass, fail on various attributes and characteristics of the park. You'll notice that at the bottom of each section, there's a comments field. So you could have surface-related comments. Then we go to hardware and paint. We come down. This is fully customizable for the inspection forms as well. So that is tracked, and then when you're done, there is, was work required, yes or no? So that's really helpful for being able to just simply and quickly search for and filter for inspections that resulted in some work. You'll notice it just like everything else in the system, it tracks who did this and when, photos and comments. Let's see, were there any other questions, Russell?
Yeah, so Max asked, can we develop a public tree trail in parks module, e.g. the Philly tree map? So we do have a module for for doing tree trials. So that is an existing add-on to TreePlotter if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, we have what we call a tree tours builder module. I could show you on the support page probably the quickest. So it's an add-on module, and what it allows you to do, there's sort of two parts to the module. There's a builder, and then there's a viewer. So obviously the viewer is what the public or your audience would use. Let's just see here. Whoops, tree tours. So we have a video about how to create a tree tour. I'll just come here. So there's the builder. You can name them. You can have as many stops along the trail or tour as you want. So you see it says add stops. You can have text, photos for every single stop along the way. And what it does, so this really just walks you right through it. But what it does is it allows you to have as much information or as little for each stop along the way. You could have multiple pictures, leaf on, leaf off, twigs, buds, leaves, leaf shape, things like that. So it could be used in all sorts of ways. It also links to your overall tree inventory, which means that let's just say that your organization has 10,000 trees in your overall database for TreePlotter. You can choose which specific trees from the data set that you want to use when you create your tour. And when you're done, you launch the tour. It comes with this nice layout, and you can see at the bottom middle, you can click through the different trees on the tour, and then the map follows and updates you. Any other questions about that? Again, this is just on our support page, so it's an easy way to find more information.
It's just an excellent from Mac, which is always good to see.
And I think next week we'll go into the Parks module or the Parks product a little bit more detail.
Teresa's asked, are tree tours limited to geographical area? No, we can build tree tours all across the planet.
Yeah, you could even, some of our clients, they'll add a data field in their main tree inventory database that's just a checkbox, a yes, no, is this a tree that's in a tree tour? So it's just a way for them to manage and to know that so that they can filter that quickly, and then when they open up the tree tour builder, they can choose from those trees or all of them and bring them in. So.
I mean, what I would say though is we've shown you an awful lot of different possibilities, and so as I reiterated at the start, all of our clients' applications look very different, and we recognise that you as individuals will have different wants and different client needs. We're happy to do bespoke webinars with you on what your clients need to show you things if you would like to see things in more detail, or if you think of questions after the seminar which you thought, how do we do that? So yeah, please do let us know.
Thank you, Chris, for the comment. Sounds like, Russell, maybe we can wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, Ian and I will stay on the line for another 5 minutes, but I think we've kind of shown everything what we'd like to, but if people want to stay on and carry on answering questions or would like us to go back over something, happy to do that. If not, thank you very much for giving us your time this afternoon.
All right, looks like folks are exiting.
Thank you, Britt. Thank you, Warren.
Looks like we have a few folks still on. I think there was one question that might have been. All right, Frederick, thanks for the demo. Thanks for attending and joining. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, I think we wrapped up.
We've got 2 left, Stuart and Esteban. Do you have any further questions? Nope. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for taking the time. See you, Russell. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.